We'll go right into it. This is the post material for the Salient Points. This is we're gonna talk about The Last of Us episode 4 on this mini Seent It. I believe it's episode 3. You would think I would line up that.
4. This is episode 4.
No, this is episode 3, Dalan, of the minis.
Of Seent It.
Of the Seent It minis. It's wacky. I was about to say. I like how it's off like that.
Wait, haven't we done an episode for every episode?
Carlos
we have.
is right. Don't think about it too much, Dalan.
I like how Lisa's like, damn it, shit, my symptoms are acting up from the void. Damn it, can we get into this shit? But yeah, Carlos Macias, the master of puppetry, I think Dalan said. We got Dalan Kirkwood.
You're the master of puppetry today.
We got Dalan Kirkwood. We got Deo Blas as well, and then we got Luis Mendez from the void. The funny thing about this episode is that Dalan hasn't seen episode 4, but we told him, hey, if you stick around, you're gonna have to listen to the spoilers. But we're gonna start it off like this. Deo put a tweet out. He put HBO's The Last of Us. I'm assuming you break down the 4 episodes, right, Deo?
They're very generalized.
Okay,
yes.
So HBO's The Last of Us, episode 1. It looks like a happy face. The little kid is happy. Episode 2, happy, but not open mouth happy. Episode 3, it's got the hearts, got the little heart eyes. If you guys seen the heart eye emojis,
the love emojis.
And then episode 4, you got the like straight faced emoji, like kind of like So, Dale, what if you want to kind of keep it as smoky as possible, man? But were you potentially, quite possibly, disappointed with The Last of Us episode 4?
Yes.
Okay, tell us why, sir. Tell us why.
Only because from a high of episode 3, it was just like super generic episode 4, and I understand that they had to get through it because this is a part of the game where you're traveling with Joel and Ellie to start heading over to Wyoming to go meet his brother, and so it's just like it's a car trip thing going on, and it's just like, okay, this is boring. The exposition was kind of boring and super generic. I don't know if you want to talk about the changes that they made.
Well, look, I mean, if it's part of like why you're disappointed, I mean, one of the big ones
I'm not disappointed in those changes. I'm just saying that that's part of the discussion we should talk about.
Yeah, I mean, one of the big things is, of course, instead of going to like Pittsburgh, they actually go to Kansas City in this episode, right? So that's kind of a big change. They introduced a couple characters. They introduced Perry and Kathleen which I thought they were from the game, but I'm like, wait, they're not from the game anywhere, and they're not, right? They're new characters. Right, so that's kind of one of the changes to the game, which so far I'm like sort of okay with. Do you feel like those changes are like kind of leading you towards that's part of why I don't like it, or no?
No.
Okay.
No, because it's actually kind of exciting to me. Like, oh, like where are they gonna go? It's a total mystery to me how they were gonna do it. I was disappointed with like in the game when they get to Pittsburgh, they go through like this like traffic block because it's basically a human trap, right? And it was kind of
Kansas City, right? Kansas City, right?
Well, in the game it's Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
but
in the game, yes.
In the show it's Kansas City, and when they do the human trap, when the humans try to trap Ellie and Joel in that truck, it was kind of weak compared to how they did it in Pittsburgh. There's a lot more action in the Pittsburgh version, but the way that they killed off one of the guys, one of the raiders that's in Kansas City, that was really good. Like, there's a lot more humanity about like, hey, we're just humans trying to survive this whole thing. Like, my name is Brian. Don't kill me.
Yeah, that was a cool scene how that played out.
Like, I just want to go home. Like, this wasn't like, I'm not trying to murder you just because like it's personal.
You know what?
Like,
it's kind of, we did bring in the real world last week. We kind of brought it down a little bit at the end of the episode last week, right? But it's hearing, and the stuff that kind of came out of Memphis, not to try to tie it too much into it because that's its own like unfortunate thing, right? But hearing the guy in the show go, mom, it's like, that's right. But what do you do, right? As far as like the episode, what do you do, right? Like that was the script, that was the scene, and it was, I don't know, it was a little more powerful, the fact that he was like, mom. Hearing that, we'll come back to you, Dale. But Luis, what do you think? Were you kind of disappointed as far as the episode's concerned, or are you higher on it than
I feel like I'm pretty much on the same boat as him as far as that emoji reaction goes. It was very sort of like, of the 4 episodes that have come out, this one has been the weakest. It's been the most sort of like generic TV so far, I think, especially with how good the past 3 have been. It was a better change than in the game with the way that Ellie quote unquote killed her quote unquote first person as far as Joel was concerned at the time.
Yeah.
But then I feel like the follow up after that was weaker than what it was in the game, where it was that moment was sort of a point of tension between the two, even though
Yeah.
Joel was obviously happy that he wasn't dead, but it was like Ellie didn't follow his instructions, right? Of like, don't take a weapon.
Yeah.
Um, but I guess because of the way they wrote the script with them sort of becoming friendlier and happier with that road trip section, that I don't know how long that was, but it felt like it was at least 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah, and
It was
some
a
of
10
it,
to 15
and
minutes. That's
some
what
of
it
it,
was, it was long.
and some of it, it's funny because like they they talk about it in the post show, and I didn't listen to the podcast actually this morning, but I just remembered. But part of like some of the things that the directors talk about, Neil Druckmann, is like this whole like direction that they're taking the series in was like, Joel is this violent person, and Ellie is realizing that she's also violent too internally, which I don't know if the games necessarily show that. Yes, over the traversal, over like the course of the games, yes, Ellie starts to get a little more violent, more like, it's like, damn, but I feel like that's more of a like, I need to survive, not because inherently she's violent, as you can see in these scenes where she gets the gun and Joel's like, I told you about this gun, but I'm gonna give it back to you. Here you go. And she looks like all crazy, right? Like, it's like, oh, I love it. I love this gun. Teach me more. And it's kind of like,
Yeah,
it's
they're
a
not
little
natural
crazy.
born killers or whatever like that. They're
Yeah,
just trying to be survival.
so that was one of those things. But yeah, as far as the episode, it's sort of one of those transitional episodes, right? It's like, look, we're setting up the scene. I mean, for what you can say about the episode, I guess, is that this is like the closest that Joel and Eddie have been, or Ellie, my bad. Joel and Ellie have been, where they've actually gotten to know each other, and it's not like all these crazy scenes of like, I'm trying to get you from point A to point B. You can kind of at least see like their character building, right? Like the development of like, we're getting to know each other a little bit better, even to the point where she's like, that last scene was kind of beautiful, I think, right? Where she's like making jokes out of the pun book, right? And one of them finally gets Joel, and Joel's like, and she's like, I got you, motherfucker. She's like, you laughed, and then he just couldn't help himself at that point, right? But it's definitely a transitional episode. It's one of those where like they're setting up for what's next, right? So in that sense, I think it's a functional episode over like, like the last episode was a beautiful episode put together, and it's like a complete story. And any kind of episode was gonna be a downtrend or whatever you want to call it, right? It wasn't gonna be as good as episode 3, right? But so maybe we could talk about that, dude. What do you think about the introduction of Perry and Kathleen? Mostly Kathleen, right? And you're kind of getting a sense of what kind of person she is. She's kind of a ruthless killer. She's also like obviously trying to hide. Yeah, I know. The character, you kind of, I don't know if you believe it. She did kind of murder someone real quickly, though. Made a decision.
I don't know if they picked the right like I don't know if they picked the right actor to do it.
Yes.
Because like I've seen the actor before, she's great. But she never plays like this type of cutthroat kind of survival leader or whatever of this band.
Well, I think for this she was pulled, like, if you've seen Yellow Jackets, she's kind of a sort of kill. So she kind of pulled her from that.
Yeah, so I understand that, but I don't think they framed her the right way, or they just didn't get her lines right. So I'm hoping to see more, mainly because like her interrogation of that one elderly guy, like I don't know what the backstory is because she's a totally brand new character. She was pretty ruthless when that came by, and she's definitely hunting Henry. So Henry, if you guys know, like Henry and Sam are part of the original game, and she definitely has it out for them for some reason. I think the reason was they killed her brother or something. So it's personal. So I was like, oh, that's kind of like a parallel to what happened to Abby in Last of Us Part 2. So it's a very personal vendetta of these characters that are trying to get through, the story. And so I was like, oh, that's pretty interesting. Another interesting thing about Perry, the bearded guy, the white bearded guy, he's the voice of Tommy.
He plays Tommy.
Yeah, he plays Tommy.
He's Tommy in the games, right? So I didn't know that. And that totally blanked on me until I was like, where have I heard this guy before? I swear I did, and I didn't realize it until someone posted it on Twitter, and that's where I read it. I was like, whoa, oh shoot, it is that guy.
Yeah. So Luis, what do you make of these new characters, man? I know. So we did talk about her. I said ruthless killer. I I appreciate the pause, Dale. I appreciate that. I was like, is she though? And so I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I think she still has to prove herself that she is that character. But one of the things for sure is like she at least is not being completely honest with everyone, right? Because there's definitely like that pit or whatever it is that they found in the building.
Yeah, what the
and
heck
she was
is
like,
that thing?
she's
Oh,
like,
man.
don't say anything about that. And he's like, what do you mean?
You guys don't know
But
what that is?
it's the big old monster thing, right, from the gym.
It's
in the
most
gym.
likely the bloater, yeah.
Yeah,
bloater,
the bloater.
right?
But so what do you think, Lise, whether it's that she's not being honest, or maybe you do think she's a ruthless killer? Maybe you
I mean, they
believe that.
definitely want us to believe that she's
Yeah.
a ruthless killer, and
Yeah.
she obviously is the leader of this group. Even though she looks exactly like everybody else, basically.
A generic ass character.
Yeah, just someone
Yeah.
wearing like a jacket, I guess. But yeah, and maybe they wanted that juxtaposition of someone that doesn't look like a ruthless killer or leader to sort of play that off. But yeah, I'm not quite
You're
buying
not
it
sold,
yet.
huh? You're not
Yeah.
sold.
Even though she did what she did and what she says is very sort of is adds to that sort of narrative, but the way that I'm seeing it on screen, just it's not connecting with me quite
Yeah.
yet. And yeah, if I had no idea, because even me, someone who's played the games, knowing who Henry and Sam are, and her sort of talking about it, like I was still kind of lost for a few moments while she was talking about this. Like, why is she so mad? And I was like, oh, it's Henry and Sam from the games. So like, of someone who's never played the games, I can't imagine how confused they are right now. Like, wait a minute, what's going on? Why is she
Right.
mad?
There's no
Who
reference
is
of
she
them
looking
before
for?
that.
Like,
Yeah.
they have no frame of reference for who these people are. So they're not sort of quote unquote, I guess, excited to see them come up on screen. It's just the name, right? They don't really know who these people are.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm just not buying this whole, and I guess it's interesting that they want to sort of expand on the world and add the characters. And in the games, you did know that this section you're going through was a FEDRA location that was overtaken by these people, and now they're all over the place. But I don't know that they necessarily had to develop this whole story behind the area. They could have just kind of gone
it.
through it,
Yeah.
and just like, damn, there's people
Right.
chasing us. We don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Like
So
they did in the game, because they spent a lot of time on this episode, and we're like halfway through the series. So I'm just kind of worried that they're gonna start rushing things a little bit towards the end. That's my only concern right now. But
yeah, that's one of the things right now that is kind of like, let's hope that we're not seeing the sort of threads of like, it's getting worse. It's not gonna be as good, like that's kind of one of the things, right? But I don't know. I feel like maybe we can kind of chalk it up to, it's like I said, it's like a transitional episode where it's like, okay, we're getting to the next part, we're getting to the next section, right? But even so, even the little details, I think I've mentioned it before, but I still, one of the things I really want to quickly mention here is that it still kind of trips me up to see like actual brands, right? Like there's the Sara Lee brand, there's like the FedEx trucks that they drive by, there's all these little details that for whatever reason, I was like, oh
Jeez,
shit.
Don't forget Arby's, bro.
Oh, the Arby's. Oh, that's right. There's the Arby's. I did point that out while I was watching it with my child. But there's an Arby's. Of like, look, there's an Arby's. They probably have the mac and cheese right there. But it's definitely one of those things where it grounds the show a little bit more to actually have legitimate brands in it. But we'll see. We'll see what happens on it. Look, we do have someone in the chat. PS Rewind. Thank you for joining us. He says Lightfall hype. If you have a question, we're about to wrap up here this is on the post credits here, PS Rewind. But if you have a quick question, maybe we could get to it before we end the stream here. But other than that, man, I think we do have a couple of news as far as The Last of Us is concerned. Episode 4 did premiere to 7.5 million viewers, so that's the highest
Which was
audience
an
ratings yet.
increase.
It keeps
increase.
increasing, man. It keeps increasing. So I think it's one of those things like, this thing is blowing up. This thing is blowing up. HBO, I'm sure, is super happy about it. There's no wonder that they renewed it for a new season. Also, remember that episode 5 will premiere Friday instead of Sunday, and I'm sure they're trying to avoid that Super Bowl blast radius. So they're kind of like, all right, let's have it up on Friday when everyone's gathered. They could talk about it on Sunday. But I don't know. Any kind of final thoughts? Dale, we'll go with you first, man. Anything? Are you kind of hyped about? Do you like how they ended it? I guess because they basically ended it with the two kids with the guns pointed in the face, right?
Should we spoil that? Can we spoil that right now?
It's all spoilers. It's all spoilers. Right now.
spoilers?
Damn. All right, I'm gonna remove my headphones for this.
Okay,
one.
Dale,
You agreed to
Dale.
this, Dalan.
You
We told
agreed to this, Dalan. But
I agree.
go ahead,
But
Dale.
that seems like a heavy spoiler right there.
Well, okay. Well, so Ellie and Joel wake up basically, and you definitely see Henry and Sam.
Yeah.
And so they're holding up Ellie and Joel, and that's it. That it cuts right out of that. But I'm like super hyped because like that those two characters are really big in the story, especially in the games. Um, especially when like the whole series has been trying to teach Joel, like he's like, hey, you have to like love again. Like you can't just be like this soulless monster that just goes through life with like no point. You lost Tess, you lost some other friends. Like now it's time to find a new purpose, and the purpose eventually is going to be Ellie. And hopefully, what he learns in the game is that he learns that like the same instances you're going to see it paralleled with Henry and Sam. And so what happens to them is unfortunate, and he better learn from something like that. And I'm hyped to see that because there's a whole part of the game where like, man, they go through some shit, and I want to see that.
Yeah.
I want to see that whole
which I'm sure
situation and everything.
Which how they're pushing through it. I'm pretty sure we might even see it like through the course of the next episode. We might see it play out, especially how many episodes do we have left, right? I think we might see it play out through the course of it. It was very like, you know what? Talking about how we were kind of like meh on the episode. I feel like ending it that way was kind of like it was just starting. Like it was that's kind of how I felt. I was like, this episode was just starting. All right, that's cool. Luis,
but before I head out,
ahead,
I just want to say shout out to in chat the Sly Crow. Thanks for joining us, man. He's from another chat off of Discord, so thanks for joining us.
Oh,
man.
nice. Thank you very much. Luis, any final thoughts, man? What are you thinking here?
Yeah, I think I felt similar to how you felt, where I saw them on screen, I'm like, okay, now we're getting started. Oh wait, we're not getting started. The episode is over. Yeah, I feel like they could have maybe.
Disappointment was that.
Huh?
Is that you got started, but you didn't get started. You were waiting for it.
Yeah.
Just tell him yes, Luis. Just tell him yes. Just say yes.
I feel like they could have still. I don't know. Maybe this is me. I should let go a little bit more. But
No. This is when you can speak on it. This is when you can.
No, I just mean as far as expectations for the show, because obviously there's huge deviations going on, but they still keep the same sort of core thread of the game. I feel like they could have still, in this instance, kept that same sort of introduction to Henry and Sam, and it would have had the same result if they wanted to cut the episode off there. Yeah. With maybe as they're going into the room, they're about, oh, we're going to sleep here. And then they get sort of similar to the game. You crawl through the window, Henry starts sort of beating you up, and Joel starts beating Henry up. And then cut to Sam holding the gun. And then that's the end of the episode, right? They could have still sort of achieved that and kept the same core of the game. But I don't want to get. It's not like it ruined it for me or anything. It was just the way the episode ended.
And this one took like some kind of logical missteps or weird kind of steps where he's like crunching up glass, and she's like, "What are you doing that for?" And he's like, "So I can hear them." It's like, "Yeah, but your ear is bad or whatever." It's like, but they still got through. There was no crunching of the glass. That's fine. So look, I think it's fair. This is what we do this podcast for, right? We're gonna poke some holes into like what they do and the deviations, and I still think we got hopes, right? We still got hopes that it'll come back, it'll rebound next week, and we'll get pretty hyped. So as far as people in the chat, I don't know if you're seeing other people than I see Dale. I see PS Rewind. Thank you for joining us, sir. We're gonna try to maybe get a time going. Maybe that's what we need, right? Have a time for people to be like, I'm gonna.
We gotta warn them.
We gotta warn them. We just kind of went. Look, for episode 100, we kept it wacky.
Figure out where our stream went.
Yes, we need to know what the correct link is. But for those of us who joined, again, PS Rewind, and who else was in the chat, Dale?
Sly Crow.
Thank you guys for joining us. Hopefully we didn't spoil it too much. You guys jumped in and you're like, what the hell? They're spoiling Last of Us right now. I haven't seen it yet. But look, I'm Carlos Macias, the master of puppetry. I think that's what Dalan said earlier.
Paper mache.
Master of paper mache. Dalan Kirkwood from up in the mountains. Thank you for joining us. You were, I don't know, I want to say you were a good sport, but I don't know. I mean, I like it though that you were here for episode 4, but there was some major things. Try to get them out of your brain, all right, dude. Try to get them.
It's good that it was like not the best episode for like
I'm not gonna, well,
True.
Yeah, that part sucks to actually know, and I'm still gonna end up finishing the episode as soon as we're done here. But I was out here like Dale was about to hit some heavy spoilers, and I just turned the volume down on my headphones. That's why my hand was on my headphones. I have no idea what he said at that point, so that's still cool for me.
All right, that's good.
We kept talking about it.
Dale Blas, the king of Mid Bay. Have a fun trip, man. We'll see you in like 3 Luis. Don't think about a podcast. Don't think about nothing. You know, maybe if you need to go to sleep, maybe if you need to like take a nap, you're like, let me put these motherfuckers on. Like, let me.
Do you guys want any like you guys want any souvenirs or anything?
Potentially.
Hit me in the chat.
Yeah, let's talk about it off wax.
I believe the Neo Geo store is still up. Bring one of those things back.
Okay, there you go. We'll talk about that off wax though, of course, right? Luis Mendez on the Wheels of Steel. Thank you very much, sir. We'll see you guys next time, and maybe we'll warn you that we're going live or something, and we'll know what the link is. We'll know how it works. Maybe potentially.
Hey man, shoot up a flare. Shoot up a flare.
Shoot up a flare indeed. All right, latest.